The real trick in lowering the front end of one of these, because it's mostly bolt-on, is just knowing what parts to buy. There are a lot of parts out there. Some of them are a little dodgy. DJM, I've had good luck with these components. They seem to fit very well. They seem to have gotten me down where I need to be as far as ride height goes. I've installed, of course, all new ball joints. These are applied with, they're installed with red Loctite. Make sure they don't come loose. Installing them is fairly straightforward. Just basically follow the instructions. Interestingly enough, my control arms were missing 2 of these set screws. I had to source some locally. It's a 1/4 inch fine thread set screw. And I couldn't find one short enough, so I actually had to grind it down a little bit. And what this does is it locks the threads on the end screw, which goes through this, and it acts as a pivot. And it keeps it from slowly unscrewing itself. So it's pretty important. So make sure that they're in there. And what I'm doing is I'm setting them in place with some blue locking thread compound, Loctite. When you place the washer, it covers the now flush set screw. And once you put this this locking nut in place and run it down, it holds the set screw firmly in place. It can't back out even without the locking compound. But we're just gonna belt and suspenders for this guy. Also using DJM 3-inch drop spindles. And installing those is fairly straightforward unless you want to run 15-inch wheels. And then there's some clearancing that needs to be done right here. So just set the caliper in place just to get a rough idea. I've already done the other side, so I have a really good idea on how much material we need to remove. But I just feel more comfortable just giving myself a rough guide to go by when I'm going to grind on it. You only can do it once, and if you take off too much, it's really hard to put it back on. Lots of glue, I guess. So this gives me just a rough guide on how much material to take off. Basically, we're just continuing the natural curvature of the caliper, and which is basically what the factory does. This is from the factory. It's smaller than all of them. It's very thin piece of metal here. So it's really a moot point. It's like there's no debate over whether it's safe or not. It shouldn't be. In my opinion, it's safe. You, however, should do it as your conscience guides you. However, looking at this factory unit, this is a 1/4 inch maybe, and we've got almost twice that in our aftermarket casting, even after the clearancing. So I'm not worried in the slightest. A little bit of paint, and you'd never know it wasn't like that from the factory. Works fine, lasts a long time. I've installed all new ball joints, tie rod ends. It's a new close ratio steering box, new U-bolts. This is what holds the lower control arms, and I recommend you just replace those. Some of the very early trucks had a smaller size, and it's very difficult to even find the smaller size. What you need to do is you get the larger size that fits the later model trucks like this 84, and you actually drill out the brackets to accept the larger size. It's a safety thing. You really need to upgrade those. They were too small when they came from the factory. We've got the
big block springs that have been cut down slightly. We'll have video on that separately to come once I edit it. The DJM spindles come bare, and I've painted them with a cast iron colored paint just to try and slow down the corrosion, stop it from corroding. The surfaces where it mates along with the caliper I didn't paint because I don't want anything to gum it up, and a little bit of that silicone Silglide lube goes a long ways. You got to be careful where you put it, but that silicone stuff won't run with the heat or anything like that. So basically, you install it, you follow the instructions, and that's easy enough.